Hey guys, it's Megan. Sorry about the angle on the camera tonight. I'm just cooking and back and forth, and I want to do a few videos for you guys and get some out. Let's see. I watched a couple new movies this week. I saw The Longest Ride with Britt Robertson and Scott Eastwood. Alright, if you're a fan of Nicholas Sparks' books, in my opinion, I think they did a fairly decent job with this movie. There was a time, I believe it was last year, or it could have been the summer before last, that I had, through our local library and, you know, shopping and buying the books and people giving them to me, that I read most of Nicholas Sparks' books, and I've read this one. I've pretty much seen all his movies. The Best of Me came out right before this one. I believe The Guardian will be coming out next, and my husband and some of our friends know one of the actors in the movie, so that will be really interesting. I can't wait to see it. But I still have to buy this one when I save up for it. Right now I'm saving up for a trip out of town, so that comes first. But there's always Christmas coming up, and there's always birthday, and just, you know, find a good deal somewhere and get it. So I have to get The Best of Me. I need to get that one and some of his earlier ones because I don't own all of his movies. Let's see. Alright, so The Longest Ride had to do with this this bull rider and this woman who's she's an assistant to an art gallery owner, I guess you would say, and she was an intern and is supposed to go to New York for an internship. Well, she meets up with Britt Robertson at they go to a rodeo, or she goes to see him at the rodeo, and she took a liking to him. He got bucked off the horse, or the bull, and his hat landed around where she was, so she got his hat, and he told her to keep it, and then they met up at a bar afterwards and reconnected, and then they started seeing each other, although she was ambivalent about seeing him because she was about to head to New York in a couple of weeks, I believe it was. It might have been 2 months. I don't remember it was a short amount of time before she was supposed to leave. So Britt Robertson and Scott Eastwood are driving along one night, either coming back from going out or going out, and he spots a car down a ravine off the side of the road through a guardrail, and they go down and find a gentleman who's played by Alan Alda in the car, and the car's on fire. So they pull him out to safety, and he looks over at Britt Robertson and says, "The box, get the box." So she gets the box. Well, inside the box is a bunch of love letters to a woman named, I think her name was Ruth, and they were like in the movie they were like in a picnic box basket or whatever, and that might be how it was supposed to be meant when he wrote it. But I thought I remember from the book that the area the car went down in, he was there for several days, if not a couple of weeks, because of the snow, that it was supposed to be all snowy up there, but in the movie they didn't show the snow everywhere, so I don't know why they chose to leave that aspect out. To me, that would make it more believable, because the snow, it would add another character to the story, the weather, you know, it would just be another player. Just like in football, when it comes to either the 12th man, or I think it's the 12th man, is the football field. I mean, or it's the football. Please don't quote me on everything. I'm just trying. So the man's alive. They take him to the hospital, and Britt Robertson goes and talks to him. He doesn't know who she is, and she brings his letters to him. Well, over the course of time, he's in the hospital, then he goes into another, I guess, I don't know if it's a home or if he goes back home, or anyways, that's irrelevant, because there's a small amount of time that she gets to know him, and he comes back and visits Scott Eastwood does, but he's not as predominantly there as she is. And then he's doing his bull riding. Well, years ago, he got on this bull, and this bull threw him off and trampled him, and he was severely injured, and he's got he's got brain injury, severe concussions and stuff. So, I mean, he's not slow or anything, but his mom tells him he needs to stop, you know, doing this, and he says, well, how do you think you're going to survive? How do you think you're going to be able to live here if I'm not making the money to bring it in? And she's like, don't do it for me. She's like, I don't know where I'll live, but I'll have a place. I'll be good. Well, he, you know, goes and does okay on some of them, and then it's the plot twister. It's the part in the movie, or the part in the story where you're like, you hear the music swell, and it's his moment, and he draws, I guess they draw straws, or draw, you know, coins, or pull coins, or it doesn't matter how they figure out who gets to ride what bull, because you're not riding the same bull every night. You guys all draw for it, and you don't know before you're coming in which one you're going to ride. So he pulls I guess you want to say the short stick, if that's how you want to put it, and he winds up having to ride this bull again, and he's scared, but he still does it, and he triumphs, he overcomes it. Well, I think he did. There was one point where he gets trampled, and he's in the hospital, and him and Britt Robertson have decided that they don't want to, they got into a fight, and they sort of broke up. Well, she's on her way to New York and gets a phone call that he's in the hospital. Well, instead of going to New York, she goes to his hospital and goes and visits with him, makes sure he's okay, and talks to him, and I think it's at that point he says that he's done, he's finally done, that he's done what he set out to do. I know you have to stay on the bull for 8 seconds. I don't know all the logistics, and you know, and I should tell you that I'm going to tell you how the movie's ending, so hopefully you still see it, but I'm still going through telling you what happens. So, while she's left, and then some time goes by, and she does go her separate way, and he goes his way, and I don't know if I don't remember if they were talking at this point, but she's in New York, and she gets a phone call that the old man, his name was Ira, that he had passed away. Let me back up. Britt Robertson, in that time she was getting to know him, she found out about who this Ruth lady was, who was his wife, who had passed within, I think it was within it was within 5 years, I believe. She had passed away, and he was on a drive or something, and I think he was trying to get to this college campus that she used to go to. She was big into art, and Ruth had actually left Ira. They got married. Well, no, they were high school sweethearts, I guess you'd say. Then he went off to war. Then they didn't really talk to each other that much, and she was an immigrant, and his parents owned a store, and her parents, I guess, owned a store, so they got to know each other through that. And then he went off to war and came back and didn't tell her he was back, and she found him, and then he got injured, and he's like, I don't think I can ever have a family. And she says, you and me are a family. He said, is that enough? And then they got married, which obviously in life doesn't happen like that, but that's sort of how they were moving the story along. Well, that sounded like somebody was here. So they get married, and she loves art. She's going to college for art. She just enjoys it. She collects pieces, and many years go by, and they still have no children. Well, she realizes that she wants more. She wants the kids, but it wasn't going to work, so she leaves him. Well, some time goes by, and something happens, and she winds up coming back, and he they continue to buy pieces of art. She'll point out something she likes, or he'll surprise her with art, and they had an extensive collection worth millions. And he had them all over the house, and then when she died, he took them all down and put them in storage. But they were all kept really well. Well, while I think she went on to become a teacher while she was pursuing, doing artwork, and not really, I mean, somebody had to, they had to make the money so they could afford the art. So she became a teacher, and he worked. He was a hard worker, and not really sure what he became after he got out of the service. But he might have gone into his family's business, I don't know. But he was a hard worker, and he was able to give her lavish pieces of art and stuff. Well, their collection was worth millions. Well, in the time she was teaching, she ran across this one kid. His name might have been David. Let's just use the name David, because that seems to be Daniel or David. I don't remember the kid's name. And he wasn't doing well in class. He was falling asleep. He looked disheveled. He just dirt poor. Turns out he was being raised by I think a brother or a sibling and a cousin or something. I don't know. Real old-timey, really, I don't know if the parents were married, if they were siblings, if it was some kind of, like, incestual thing, or if it was just they were all living together, but they had custody of the kid. Well, Ruth and Ira, or Ruth started, she would start tutoring him, and he'd come over to the house. He became, like a faux member of the family, I guess you'd say. He really wasn't, but he was, and he took a liking to her, and she wanted to adopt him. They both wanted to, and his guardian would not allow it. So he and his guardian moved away, I think, and I'm trying to remember how that transpired. But she taught him music and art and everything, and he started doing better in school. Well, through that, later on, he learned, he did a project either in college or something, and he drew a picture of Ruth. Well, he had gotten into a tragic accident and had died, and only after Ruth died did his wife come to see Ira, who was played by Alan Alda. And she said, "This is the only thing, I needed to bring this to you because this was for you. This is," and she gave it to him. Well, it was a picture of his wife. He had remembered what she looked like and had painted it. Well, fast forward to after Alan Alda passes, and he's had a will and everything. Well, he invites Britt Robertson and Scott Eastwood to the, they're auctioning off all his artwork, all his estate. Well, they started the bidding out pretty high, and nobody bid. I think they got it down to about like $600, and Britt Robertson, I don't think, had the money to be able to afford it, and Scott Eastwood, I'm sorry, I'm always not good with character and people names. I went to IMDb so I could remember the actors' names so that I could talk about it. Well, Scott Eastwood's there at the art show, but Britt Robertson doesn't know he's there, and he's in the back. Well, she's looking around trying, somebody, bid on it. Somebody bid. Well, finally he said, okay, $600, and he puts up his little paddle. Well, she turns around, or he puts up his little paddle. She turns around and sees him. Well, he got summoned away to pay for the painting and to make sure the sale goes through. And then she walks over, and they make up, and they're kissing and hugging, and you know what people do when they make up after they've been fighting, and they love each other, and it's a couple. So I guess the auctioneer or the curator or somebody of the estate, or it could be the lawyer, calls Scott Eastwood over. and makes him come back out. And he says, you bought the painting, correct? The Ruth painting. And he says yes. And he says, in the sales final? And he said yes. Well, there's a codicil of the will that states this painting is not worth the most, but it means the most. Excuse me. And the person that procures this also gets the entire collection. So basically, he paid $600 for probably tens of hundreds, probably maybe $10 million worth of artwork. I'm not really sure, but I assume that they it showed at the end where she was working in an art museum that they had dedicated to him, and are the Ruth and Ira. I'm wondering if they sold off some of the stuff so that they could afford to do that, or so they could afford to, both of them could get what they wanted in, you know, their dreams and everything. Well, I know that they both wound up together because the final scene had them either getting in a car or walking away together. But it had to take a tragedy for someone to triumph to get somewhere. And all of that artwork, and she was just an assistant, and she was just an intern, and now she owns the place. You know, they own it together. And I think she was, you know, letting his legacy live on. And I really liked the movie. I know my little sister, when Sarah and I went to go see Lucky One, or the Lucky Ones, I think that's what it's called. I have it on the shelf somewhere. She was really upset. I hadn't read the book before I went, and she read the book, and it talked about a lot of different stuff before the beginning of the movie happened, and throughout the movie it didn't end the same way, and there's things, and she was very upset with the way that they did that movie. And I said, okay, lend me the book, let me read it. I started it one afternoon, by the next afternoon I was done, and then I was upset because they didn't get it even close. But I mean, the gist of the story, I think they did a pretty good job. Safe Haven I watched, and, you know, it wasn't exact. I was remembering parts from the book that weren't in the movie, but, I mean, you can only fit so much of a story into 2 hours or whatever. So, yeah, I know I have a roundabout way of talking about a movie, and then I have to jump back. But during the movie, they did a lot of flashing forward and backwards that it was hard for me to keep up for part of it. So, yeah. That's kind of... I liked it, and I was excited about seeing it. Now I can't wait for The Guardian to come out because I want to see what they do with that. And I still have that book on my shelf, I think, in my room. If not... I think I have The Choice or something, but I've read the books. I've read them. Once I see the movie, it kind of starts to come back, but it's like I read them one after another, and I didn't, take the time to wait for the movie to come out, then read the next one. I just read them. So, some I got it from the library, some I got as digital copies, some I got, you know, bought, some were given as a gift. I mean, I haven't been doing a lot of reading lately, but I'm planning to start back up again. But there weren't that many Nicholas Spark books coming out, so I'm waiting for his next one, and I'm excited about it. So, thank you for listening to my, telling you what happened, in my opinion, on The Longest Ride. I want to do another one in a little while on Magic Mike XXL, and I do not believe that movie will be that long. I mean, my review on that movie will be that long, because I think I'm just going to give my opinion and say that you really have to watch it. So, alright, like, fave, share, subscribe, Megan Shepherd 81, MeganShepherd81 at gmail.com. Y'all have a good day.